There comes a time in every soul's journey when silence feels louder than any voice, when the absence of recognition becomes its own kind of prison. You have walked through seasons where your words were dismissed, your presence overlooked, your value unseen. The pain of being ignored is not in the absence of noise, but in the absence of acknowledgement. You gave your best, yet the world walked past as though you were invisible. You extended kindness, yet it was met with indifference. And so you wondered, was it worth it? Was your life destined to remain in the shadows? But my friend, God does not allow obscurity without purpose. The season of being ignored is not the season of being forgotten. What felt like rejection was in truth protection. What looked like silence was, in reality, preparation. The hidden years, those quiet days when no one called your name, were the forge where God shaped your spirit, sharpened your vision, and refined your character. You were not hidden from significance. You were hidden for significance. Think of David, tending sheep in fields no one celebrated. His brothers were invited to the table. He was left in the background. To men, he was an afterthought, but to God, he was the chosen one. When the time came, God himself sent for him. No man's blindness could cancel God's choosing. What was ignored by people was appointed by heaven. That same pattern is true for you. The silence of your past was not the end of your story. It was the soil out of which God is about to raise his announcement of you. See, the world applauds quickly, but God exalts in his time. He hides his treasures until they are ready to be revealed. A seed spends months buried in darkness before it breaks the soil, yet when it does, it carries the undeniable force of life itself. So it is with you. Your obscurity was never evidence of failure, but evidence of divine incubation. When God announces you, it will not be in whispers. It will be in ways that even those who ignored you cannot deny. Do not think for a moment that your tears have gone unseen or your efforts forgotten. Every act of integrity, every choice to remain faithful when unnoticed, every sacrifice you made in silence has been written in the heavenly record. The very people who once dismissed you will stand astonished as God lifts you into the place he prepared. For when God decides to announce a life, no human blindness can withhold his light. This is the moment you have been waiting for, not because you demanded recognition, but because God has ordained elevation. Your season of being ignored is over. God is about to bring your name into rooms you have never entered. He is about to place your work before eyes that matter. He is about to open doors that were long shut, and when he does, it will be clear that it was not man's favor that lifted you, but his hand. So stand firm, lift your head. Your obscurity was the cocoon, but your destiny is the butterfly. And now, the world will not just hear of you, they will witness God's announcement of who he made you to be. God hides you to prepare you, not to reject you. There is a mystery in the way God works, one that often feels cruel when you are walking through it, but reveals itself as mercy when you look back. Many times, when you are hidden, when doors seem closed, and when opportunities seem withheld, it feels as though you are forgotten. You pray, you labor, you wait, and yet no recognition comes. You wonder why others are called forward while you are left behind. But the truth is, God does not hide what he does not intend to use. His hiding is not rejection, it is preparation. Think about the gold buried deep beneath the earth. It lies unseen for centuries, covered by layers of rock and soil, invisible to all who pass above. Yet its value is not diminished because it is hidden. In fact, the hiding is part of the process of its preservation, ensuring it remains untouched until the time comes for it to be refined and displayed. In the same way, your hidden seasons have been God's way of keeping you safe from premature exposure, from environments that would have diminished your potential, and from people who were not ready to value you correctly. David was hidden in the fields tending sheep while others were paraded before the prophet Samuel. To his family, he was insignificant. To the world, he was invisible. Yet God's eyes never left him. Every day in the pasture, every battle with a lion or bear was shaping him into the man who would one day slay Goliath and lead a nation. Had he been elevated too soon, before his strength was tested and his courage refined, he would not have been ready. The hiding was the making of him. God does the same with you. He withholds the spotlight until your heart is steady, until your faith is rooted, until your identity is anchored in Him and not in the applause of others. If you had been announced too early, pride might have consumed you, jealousy might have destroyed you, or the weight of responsibility might have crushed you. But by hiding you, God has ensured that when the time of revealing comes, you will stand unshaken, not because of your strength, but because of His preparation. This season of obscurity is not wasted. Every unnoticed act of kindness, every uncelebrated effort, every prayer whispered in silence is part of the training. The field is your classroom, the silence your teacher, and the rejection your refining fire. Do not mistake God's delay for denial. You are not hidden to be forgotten. You are hidden to be formed. And when the preparation is complete, nothing and no one will be able to stop the unveiling of what God has built in you. Being ignored by people does not mean being unseen by God. To be ignored by people is one of the most painful experiences of the human heart. It makes you question your worth, your voice, your very place in the world. You wonder, if no one notices me, do I really matter? But the error lies in equating human recognition with divine awareness. People may walk past you, blind to your presence, but God has never taken His eyes off you. Scripture reminds us that even the sparrow, the smallest and seemingly most insignificant bird, does not fall without the Father's notice. If He counts the very hairs on your head, how much more does He see every moment of your life? Your tears have not been ignored, your sacrifices have not gone unseen, and your heart has not gone unnoticed. Heaven records what earth overlooks. Joseph's life is a testimony to this truth. His brothers dismissed him, sold him, and cast him away. Potiphar's wife falsely accused him. The cupbearer he helped in prison forgot him. At every stage, Joseph was ignored and undervalued by people, yet not once was he unseen by God. Even in the pit, even in the prison, God was watching, weaving the events into a larger plan. And when the appointed time arrived, Joseph was lifted from obscurity to prominence in a single day. The same God who saw Joseph sees you. Being ignored can serve a divine purpose. Sometimes God allows people to overlook you so that you will learn to anchor your value in Him alone. If everyone applauded you, if every effort was recognized, you might begin to depend on human validation instead of divine approval. God in His wisdom sometimes allows the silence of people so that your soul learns the sound of His voice above all others. And here is the comfort. While people ignore you, God is building a record of your faithfulness. Every unseen effort, every unnoticed act, every silent endurance becomes a seed that He will one day bring to harvest. The applause of man is fleeting, but the reward of God is eternal. The very people who overlooked you will one day witness how God elevates you, not because you sought their recognition, but because you sought His. So, do not let the blindness of others make you doubt the vision of God. You may feel invisible to them, but you are unforgettable to Him. In His time, He will bring you into the light, and the same ones who ignored you will have no choice but to see what He has always seen in you. The hidden seasons are training grounds for destiny. There is a reason why God does not rush your unveiling. Hidden seasons are not punishments, they are classrooms. When life feels quiet, when opportunities seem absent, when you are left in the shadows, it is easy to interpret this as abandonment. But in reality, these are the very places where God molds the inner life necessary for the greatness He intends to reveal. Your hidden years are not wasted years. They are training grounds for destiny. Consider the blacksmith's forge. Before a sword can be placed in the hand of a warrior, it must endure fire, hammering, and shaping. Each strike seems destructive, each flame unbearable. Yet without them, the weapon would remain fragile and unfit for battle. So too, God places you in hidden seasons where trials and tests shape your strength, endurance, and faith. It is in these unseen moments that you are being prepared for the visible ones. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep far away from Pharaoh's palace. To many, it may have looked like a life of insignificance, but in truth, every step in the desert, every moment guiding flocks through barren land, was shaping him into the leader who would one day guide Israel through wilderness to promise. The hidden season was not wasted, it was essential. The same is true of your life. When doors remain closed, when your efforts seem unnoticed, it is not because God has forgotten you. He is preparing you in ways you may not yet understand. The hidden season trains you to endure without applause, to remain faithful when no one is watching, and to grow roots that cannot be shaken by storms. This is where humility is forged, where patience is refined, and where character is strengthened. Without these hidden seasons, the weight of destiny could crush you. Great callings demand great foundations, and God builds those foundations in silence. The hidden places are where you learn to trust His voice above all others. It is where you come face to face with your weaknesses and allow Him to transform them into strength. It is where self-dependence dies and God-dependence thrives. The irony of destiny is this: the greater the call, the deeper the hidden season. Just as diamonds require more pressure and pearls demand more time, those whom God intends to use most powerfully often endure the longest training grounds. But when the season shifts and the unveiling comes, it will be clear to all that your strength was not of yourself, but born of the one who trained you in the shadows. So, embrace the hidden season. It is not a pause button, it is preparation. What feels like obscurity is actually divine strategy. And though you may not yet see the fruit, God is planting within you everything you will need to flourish when destiny calls. God's announcement carries a power no human can silence. Human recognition is fragile. The same crowd that cheers today can turn their back tomorrow. The same people who lift you up can cast you down when it no longer suits them. But when God announces a life, when He declares His hand upon you, no voice, no system, no enemy can silence it. His announcement is not a whisper of approval. It is a declaration of authority that resounds beyond human understanding. Think of Jesus at the Jordan River. For 30 years, He lived in relative obscurity. Carpenter's son, villager, teacher in the synagogue perhaps, but nothing remarkable in the eyes of men. Yet at the appointed time, heaven itself opened, and a voice declared, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." That single announcement was greater than any recognition man could have offered. From that moment on, no Pharisee, no critic, no scheme of man could silence the truth of his identity. From that moment on, no Pharisee, no critic, no scheme of man could silence the truth of his identity. In your life, God has an appointed time to speak over you. When He does, it will not matter how many ignored you, how many overlooked you, or how many tried to discredit you. His voice shatters the lies of man and breaks through the silence of obscurity. His announcement comes with authority, and authority carries power. When God opens a door, no one can shut it. When He places His hand on your life, no one can erase it. We often chase validation from people, forgetting that human voices are temporary. Their applause can lift us, but it cannot sustain us. Their acknowledgement can encourage us, but it cannot define us. Only God's announcement establishes who we truly are. When He calls you forward, the right people will notice, the right opportunities will align, and the right doors will swing wide open, not because of your striving, but because His voice carries weight in both heaven and earth. The power of God's announcement is not only in the timing, but also in the visibility. When He lifts you, it will not be hidden. The very people who once doubted you will have to witness His hand upon your life. The same family who dismissed you will see your elevation. The same friends who overlooked you will hear of your success. This is not for your pride, but for His glory. He delights in showing His favor in such a way that no man can claim credit, and no enemy can deny His power. So, wait patiently for His voice. You do not need to force doors open or beg people to notice you. One word from God can change everything. One announcement from heaven can turn obscurity into influence, insignificance into prominence, and silence into proclamation. When God decides to reveal you, it will be unstoppable. No human hand, no earthly system, no voice of opposition will be able to silence what God has declared. On the average, dozens of people declare what was overlooked will become overvalued in God's timing. There is a strange reversal in the kingdom of God. The very things that the world overlooks often become the very things He exalts. The stone the builders rejected becomes the cornerstone. The one dismissed as insignificant becomes the one people cannot ignore. This is the mystery of divine timing. What was once disregarded will one day be desired. You may feel as though your gifts, your voice, or your heart have been ignored by those around you. People passed you by, not because you lack value, but because their eyes were not trained to recognize what God placed inside of you. Sometimes people only value what is already shining, never realizing that hidden within the soil of your quiet life is a treasure waiting to be revealed. But when God's timing arrives, what they once overlooked will become something they long to embrace. Yusuf's brothers saw him as nothing more than a dreamer, a nuisance, someone to be rid of. They overlooked his potential because they were blinded by jealousy. Yet years later, when famine struck, those same brothers stood before him in desperate need. The very one they ignored became the one they could not live without. What was once despised became indispensable. The same will be true for you. The people who dismissed your ideas will one day seek your counsel. The ones who disregarded your kindness will one day crave your presence. The opportunities that seem to slip past you will return, this time with greater weight and recognition. Because God has a way of turning the tables, of making those who overlooked you realize what they missed when they had the chance. This reversal is not about pride or revenge, it is about God's justice and glory. He delights in proving that what man undervalues, He can overvalue. What man ignores, He can exalt. And when He does it, there will be no doubt that it was His hand at work. People will look at you and realize that they underestimated you, not because of who you are alone, but because of who God has always been in you. Think about the pearl. To many, an oyster shell looks unremarkable, not worth a second glance, yet within its depths lies a gem of immeasurable value. The world passes by, never stopping to notice, until one day, when the pearl is revealed, its worth is undeniable. That is what God is doing with you. He has hidden you for a time, not to diminish you, but to increase your value in the right season. When He reveals you, no one will be able to question your worth. So do not despair when people fail to recognize you now. What they overlook today will one day become overvalued. God's timing will place you in positions where your presence, your gifts, and your voice are not just wanted, they are needed. And in that moment, you will know that the years of being disregarded were not wasted. They were the setup for your undeniable unveiling. The tables will turn. Those who dismissed you will witness your elevation. One of the most profound truths about God's justice is that He does not simply lift you in secret. When He decides to elevate you, He does so in a way that makes those who doubted you witnesses to His power. The tables turn not by your own hand, but by His. Those who dismissed you will not only see your rise, they will have no choice but to acknowledge it. David's story is a perfect example. When Samuel came to anoint the next king, David was not even invited into the room. His own father overlooked him, believing he was unworthy of consideration. Yet God instructed Samuel to wait until David was brought in. And there, in the presence of the very family who had dismissed him, David was anointed. His elevation was not hidden. It was a public declaration that God's choice does not bow to man's opinion. God works in the same way in your life. The people who said you would never make it will one day witness your success. The ones who laughed at your dreams will sit in silence as those dreams unfold before their very eyes. The voices that told you that you were not good enough will be silenced by the undeniable evidence of God's favor upon you. This turning of the tables is not about humiliation, it is about vindication. God does not elevate you to shame others, but to prove that His word and His will cannot be thwarted by human doubt. When He chooses to lift you, He often allows those who resisted you to remain close enough to see what He has done. Why? Because your elevation is not just for you, it is a testimony to the power of God. Think of Hannah, who wept because she was mocked for being barren. Year after year, her rival provoked her, treating her pain as a reason for scorn. Yet when God opened Hannah's womb and gave her Samuel, the tables turned. The one who mocked had no words left, for the evidence of God's favor stood undeniable. What once was shame became honor. So it will be with you. The very people who thought nothing of you will watch as God unfolds everything He planned for you. They will see the doors open, the opportunities arrive, and the blessings flow. They will be unable to deny that the God who saw you in silence has chosen to exalt you in public. Do not waste energy trying to prove yourself to those who dismiss you. Let God be the one who turns the tables. For when He does, the impact will be greater than anything you could have orchestrated. They will see it with their own eyes, and in that moment, they will know that it was not your striving, but God's hand that lifted you to where you now stand. Your life will be proof that divine timing is worth the wait. One of the greatest struggles in your hidden season is the temptation to believe that waiting has no purpose. You watch others advance, others celebrated, others acknowledged, while you remain in the shadows. The mind whispers, "What if my time never comes? What if all this patience has been wasted?" Yet the testimony of Scripture and of countless lives is that when God moves, His timing redeems every moment of waiting. There is a reason the psalmist declared, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." Waiting in God's economy is not passive. It is active faith. It is the belief that though nothing seems to be happening outwardly, everything is being orchestrated inwardly and invisibly. Divine timing is not about convenience. It is about alignment. God is not only preparing you, He is preparing the circumstances, the people, and the opportunities that will converge at the perfect moment. Look at Abraham. He waited decades for the promise of Isaac. To the human eye, the waiting seemed cruel, but to God, it was necessary. When Isaac finally came, the joy was greater, the faith was deeper, and the testimony was stronger. Had the promise arrived immediately, the story would have been less powerful, the faith less tested. The wait itself became proof that divine timing is always worth it. The same will be true for you. When your season of unveiling comes, it will not feel delayed. It will feel right on time. The years of silence will suddenly make sense. The pain of being ignored will be swallowed up in the joy of being announced. What once seemed like wasted seasons will be revealed as building blocks of destiny. You will look back and realize that the very things you questioned were the very things God used to prepare you for this moment. Your life will become living proof that waiting on God is never wasted. Others will see your story and be reminded that His timing, though mysterious, is perfect. They will recognize that the promotion, the platform, the recognition you now walk in was not man-made, it was heaven ordained. And because it was God's doing, it will last. Think of the caterpillar that waits in its cocoon. For days, even weeks, it seems as if nothing is happening. To the outside observer, it looks like stillness, stagnation, even death. But within the cocoon, transformation is taking place. And when the time comes, the butterfly emerges. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. The waiting was not empty, it was necessary. So it is with you. Your cocoon of silence, of being ignored, was never wasted. It was the place of transformation. And now when you emerge, the world will not see who you were. They will see what God has made you become. So trust the timing. Your unveiling will not be rushed, nor will it be delayed. It will be right on schedule, God's schedule. And when it happens, not only will you rejoice, but others will look at your life and see the undeniable truth. Divine timing is always worth the wait. My friend, your season of being ignored is over. What was once hidden is about to be revealed. What was once dismissed is about to be announced. God has been preparing you in silence, so that when He unveils you, there will be no question of who brought you here. People may have overlooked you, but heaven never has. Your tears, your prayers, your sacrifices in secret have been seen by the one who rewards openly. Through Gem, silence. From God, far away. Sanctify and Haim, silence. The rituals of silence. The same people who doubted you will witness your elevation. The same voices that dismissed you will hear the announcement of your destiny. And when God declares your time, no human opinion can silence His decree. So lift your head. Do not fear the past. Do not resent the hidden years. They were not wasted. They were the womb of your future. You are stepping into a season where the very silence that once hurt you will become the stage for God's proclamation. The world is about to see what heaven has always known. You are chosen, you are appointed, and you are ready. Your season of being ignored is over. God is about to announce you to the world.